Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Kelly Kozlowski, and I'm so excited to welcome you all to the start of our CCT Halloween series. Tonight, we are bringing you another one of our exciting virtual reunions. Tonight, I have with me the cast of CCT's wonderful production from October of 2017. This was the fabulous cast of Frankenstein. So tonight we're going to get a chance to talk to the cast. We're going to hear their origin stories, how they came to be a part of CCT, and look back at some fond memories, take a look back at some fun photos, and give you guys the scoop from the production. It was one of CCT's best. So help me welcome the cast and crew of CCT's Frankenstein. Come on in, guys. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Look at all those smiling faces. Love, love, love. Thank you guys all so much for being here this evening. I appreciate it. So why don't we start with the show's illustrious director, Mr. Matt Henning. Matt, talk a little bit for us about how Frankenstein came to CCT's stage.
Well, that year when we were going through show selection, excuse me, I was trying to find, I wanted to try and start a series of themes, and that really try and get in that October timeframe, that spooky season, that Halloween theme. And so the script of Frankenstein had come to me about a year or two before from another possible director. And as most things that I end up directing, I first look at them from wanting to be in it. So I was really, so I really read it, and I was reading The Creature, and I was like, man, I'm really going to enjoy this, really going to enjoy this. And then obviously it didn't come to fruition at that time. So when we were going through, I was like, well, you know, Frankenstein is a script that I've read. I really enjoyed it. It's really good. And so we got it on the slate for that year.
Well, that's exciting. So cool. So how did, obviously, you know, each one of you have very different CCT stories. Some of you have long careers with the organization. Some of you are newer faces to our stage. So I want to give each of you kind of the opportunity to tell our Facebook friends how you ended up being a part of this organization. I mean, CCT has been around since for, you know, 67 years, 67. I was really excited when our last season was over because I had a really hard time saying 66th season over and over and over again. So I was really excited for this year that I got to say 67th. And then, you know, the world fell apart and it was, no! So let's start off with, as I'm looking at my screen, let's start off with David, our David Hewitt, who is our wonderful Victor Frankenstein. David, give us your kind of CCT origin story and then talk a little bit about how you ended up auditioning for this production, you know, what drew you to it.
So I had been getting involved with theater at my high school at the time, and I started slowly getting into more auditions for different theaters, children's theaters and stuff like that. So I had been trying to get in the door at CCT for years.
Wow.
Back in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I tried to get in
Oh, he froze.
No.
Such is the life of Zoom.
Still waiting to be a part of this.
He is. He's so exactly. He keeps trying, and he's still waiting to be a part. See if we can get.
I'll say, when David auditioned, he had an energy and a sparkle that he brought to playing Victor in the auditions, and it was just really kind of a no-brainer, really, at that point. I think, you know, Sid and Jessica, you were with me in that. And I don't think there was any debate there that he definitely could pull it off. That it was an easy casting decision at the time.
We could see from that frozen shot. There he is.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi just spazzed out for a second there.
All right, no one tell him what I said about him.
No, that won't. I'll see if I can edit that out.
Public anyway.
So where did I cut out?
So you cut off at
Name's David.
audition for Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka, which was my first production with CCT, oddly enough. I choreographed that show and I came in
Awesome.
working with the director, Laura, so I would have gotten to see you there.
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out the audition dates, and that kid never got back to me on when the auditions were. And when I asked him, next thing I heard was like, "Hey, the show is like next week," and I was like, "Wait, why didn't I ever hear about auditions for this?" And I messaged him and I said, "Are you in the show?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Why didn't you ever tell me about auditions for it?" And he said, and I quote, "I didn't want the competition."
Wow.
So I wasn't in that show, obviously. But that was the first CCT show I saw.
Okay.
I ended up seeing it with my mother, and it was great. I loved it. But I ended up still not knowing how to get my foot in the door at CCT. And then finally, the show was Meet Me in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And oh yeah, Brent knows about that, don't you, bud?
That's my first show too, hon.
That's how we met. And I met Sid and Jeff there. Jess, did I meet you there too?
No.
We
Oh,
met.
fair enough.
We met.
But
Jess didn't have the pleasure at that point.
no. But Meet Me in St. Louis, the rehearsals for that show had already happened. It was halfway through the rehearsal process, and I hear that they needed more guys. I heard through the grapevine that they needed more guys. So I got thrown in halfway through the rehearsal process, and that was my foot in the door at CCT. And
That's awesome.
For every show since.
That's awesome. Sometimes you just got to kick the door down, dude. That's the best advice I can give you.
Yeah.
So a little bit about what brought you to Frankenstein. Like do you remember your audition?
No. Okay. The only things I remember from the audition are Jeff, I think it was you reading for Victor. Jeff read for Victor, and then there was a thunderstorm. And thunder and lightning crashed as soon as he said one of the lines, and everyone was like, whoa. That
God
just happened.
spoke.
That is all I remember from auditions. That's it.
Sounds like Jeff.
But when you watch the video, I praised your audition while you were away.
Sid
gotcha.
orchestrated the thunder and lightning, by the way, I'm sure.
Yes. Great special effects outside of the building.
Sid has that power. She's that powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So next up, let's talk to Miss Deborah Kennedy. Deborah Kennedy, why don't you give us your CCT origin story? Yours is the one I'm excited to hear.
Well, I actually first joined CCT in late 1970 or early 71.
Nice.
We had just moved to Chambersburg. I was married about 6-7 months then. And I was always interested in acting. I had done plays in junior high and senior high.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was here, I had the chance, so I had heard about CCT. So I came and joined, and I had several years, did about 3 shows. And then after about, 4 or 5 years, I got too busy with family and, life in general and other things. And so it was probably close 14 years later. I think it was about 1989 I came out. My kids were older.
Mm-hmm.
And I auditioned for another show, and I've been a part of CCT ever since, and have done different shows along the way.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Were you in South Pacific in the 90s?
I was not. I loved it. I don't know why, because I loved being in chorus of shows, and that would have been a great one. But I remember seeing it, but no, I didn't. And my first I should have checked the date on that. The first show I actually saw, CT show, was Guys and Dolls, and I swear it was at the Rosedale Theater. My mother's cousin was in it. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm mixed up. Yeah, Guys and Dolls. Yeah, she was in that one. And then when I was in 8th grade, we came up to Faust to see Bye Bye Birdie, that my mother's cousin was in.
My dad was in that one.
Was he? So yeah, I did. I knew about CCT because I had seen shows. What I didn't know was we had a neighbor, a very close neighbor, who was actually a member of CCT as I was growing up, and I wish I had known that at the time, but I didn't.
What was your first show? Do you remember?
Yeah, Magic Moments of Music. The first one, I think it was in '71.
Did you work with Annabelle Foster?
I knew her, but
That's my grandma.
I can't. I can't remember it. Well, I met your mom in those years from shows, doing shows. And the funny thing was, they were doing. I think it was in. Well, it had to be '72. I had been in Maine, and then they were doing Fiddler on the Roof, and I wanted to audition, but I didn't because I was pregnant. And then when I went to see it, I'm sitting there watching the chorus, which was all townspeople, and I'm thinking, stupid. I could have been a pregnant townspeople for Pete's sake. What was, but I just never thought of it. But that's the way it goes. I mean, there's always things you wish you'd done and didn't do. And
It's the life of an actress.
yes, that's it.
So tell me a little bit about what brought you to Frankenstein. I mean, you've auditioned for so many different shows, done so many different things with CCT.
Yeah.
What stood out about this one?
Well, the funny thing was, I was on the play reading committee, I think, the few years before when it had been submitted by someone, and I read it, and I just, Frau was like, oh yeah, I want this part. But then they didn't do it. So when it came around that they were going to do it, I'm like, oh yeah, I really want this part. And then we were supposed to be on vacation, and I thought I was going to miss auditions because we were coming back from vacation. Well, our vacation, long story short, it got canceled. So I was able to audition, and I was so happy when I got it because I wanted to die on stage. I've never done that, and it was a challenge that I really wanted to give this a try. So yeah,
by the end, you really killed it.
Yeah.
See, I should have had a rim shot sound cue set up.
Anytime you're going to Zoom with Jessica, have a rim shot set up.
Host dropped the ball, y'all. I'm sorry. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Deb. Let's move on to the creature himself, Mr. Brent Blair.
Yeah, so, sorry to start off. I'm going to keep looking away from the camera, even though I shouldn't, because I have an absolutely terrible laptop setup. But, yeah, I started with CCT because, I didn't start theater until kind of late in high school because I had pretty bad stage fright. Always wanted to act, but I didn't get around to it until late high school. And I'm glad at least that I did because this one boy, Carter McCleary, I believe, he actually ended up contacting me about that same show, Meet Me in St. Louis, which was in desperate need of male actors the entirety of rehearsals. And I got in that. I was the male lead in that one, I think. I say male lead, not a ton of screen time, but every part matters.
Exactly. There are no small parts, only small actors.
No, not at all.
He's a big actor.
Every show has taught me that every actor is very important, and even the smallest part falling apart can really throw up the gears. But
True.
and then sorry, I've lost my track. Could I get a prompt?
No, you're fine.
Jess knows about how much I need prompt.
Your line at this point is, how did you join, and then how did you get involved in Frankenstein? And I'll write that on a Post-it for you later.
Thank you. I actually, on that note, I looked through all my old Post-it notes. Still have my script.
Aww. Nostalgia.
That's just plain dedication right there.
That is.
I really love this show. I was excited in every regard for it. I mean, I wasn't a big Frankenstein person before this. You know, I through the show I became a big Frankenstein person. But you know, big fan of Young Frankenstein, obviously, as is everyone who's ever seen it. And just through the audition, I love horror shows. Always interesting to play the villain. Not that I knew I'd get the villain, but by God, I hoped. Well, even then, villain is kind of iffy, but
Depends on what you mean by villain.
I was going to say he killed me.
I'm
yeah,
serious.
if you
Y'all
define
keep-
villain
y'all
as a
keep pulling
serial
these out,
murderer,
and you're killing
then-
me that I don't have my rim shot.
Well, I'll say, you know, Brent, you know, for those who don't remember their auditions, I do have it actually remember a good bit. Brent auditioned on the Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning afternoon auditions. We had gone through Friday, and we were pretty comfortable with who had come out on Friday and who we were going to cast. But there was not a single person that we really felt would portray the creature very well next to David and Brighton and the others. So really, I mean, you know, that Friday night panic of, am I going to have a creature? Am I going to have a creature? And
That was all like, I'll do it. Don't worry.
exactly.
God.
I literally was. I was like, all right, you know, if worse comes to worse, you know.
Oh no.
You know.
I knew you were aching to play this role,
Yeah.
so it gets me all the more deeply to know that you appreciated me
Yeah,
there.
well, I saw you walking by the window to come in. I was like, all right, I think we have a candidate here. At least as far as from a physical standpoint, I knew that you'd be a match there. And then again, you know, you just kind of brought the chops right there. You brought an intensity to that again, it was easy casting choice for me at that point. I mean, you didn't have any competition, but it was still an easy casting.
Oh!
I do remember about the auditions. I think David must have gone to multiple of them because I know I read with David. And when I read with David as the creature and him as the professor, it felt right.
Yeah.
My son.
I love those moments when you can, like, you just feel all the pieces just fit together, and it's that, like, sigh of relief. Oh, this is going to work moment. So
It was how we all felt when we left. We were like, okay, good. That's
yes,
gonna work out great.
absolutely. So let's go to Mr. Zook. Brighton Zook.
Hey.
Hi. Tell me your CCT origin story and how you ended up in Victor Frankenstein's castle.
Yeah, so Frankenstein was my CCT debut.
No way.
It was.
How?
Yep.
I'd have lost
Yeah, I
that
know.
bet.
I know, because a lot of people are like, oh, Brighton's been around like forever. And I'm like, well, that's just my
I would have
right
lost
personality.
that bet.
Oh, really?
I would have. I
Yeah.
would have seriously lost that bet.
So giving you even more of an origin story before that. So similar to David, I saw my first CCT show with my mom. My
Aw.
sister and my mom went to see Guys and Dolls for Mother's Day back in 2015.
We could have used you all.
We could have.
in
That
Guys
was
and
my
Dolls.
show. I directed
You
that
guys
show.
are
I
talking about,
could
like,
have
how we
used
need
more
boys.
men.
Oh, don't even get us started.
I could have
So
used more men, boys.
I had not seen a CCT show before then. I was like, oh, this seems really good. Like my mom had seen that show with a high school production and she really liked it. So I was like, oh, okay. Me and my sister were like, hey, we already know our mom likes the plot. So like, let's go see. Hopefully it's good. Like, I really only knew a few people in the cast from being a part of A Christmas Carol, also at the Capitol Theater the year before, but I didn't really know many that were in the show. And so then flash forward to the end of that year in November, I went to go see Wizard of Oz. My family is friends with Samantha, who played Dorothy, as well as the Loman family. They go to my church, as well as the others that were in A Christmas Carol with me as well. And it was that show that I was like, all right, I'm going to audition for a show. whenever they don't do a musical that I think I can be in. Because at that time I was like super uncomfortable singing on stage, and I was like, okay, whenever they do a play that I think I can get into, I'm going to audition for that one.
There you go.
So it actually was not Frankenstein that first caught my attention.
Okay.
It was Don't Drink the Water in 2017.
Oh, another Matthew Henning production.
Yeah, so no, I've never told this to anyone, but I actually read the whole script online. I read the whole script of Don't Drink the Water because I was like just so intrigued, and I wanted to be the lead so bad, and I was like, how naive am I to like think that I'm going to be this newcomer and just like take the lead and all of that. But long story short, I ended up not auditioning for that show. I had a conflict for one of the weekends, and I was like super bummed. But anyway, but now I'm here. So then whenever I saw the audition date for Frankenstein, I was like, okay, a lot of dudes right in my age range. I'm like, all right, here we go. And but I had really not done drama except Shakespeare before then. So that was the daunting task.
That's so cool.
Yep.
Oh, I love it. Love. So let's talk. We've gone through the cast.
You missed Jeff.
Oh, I missed Jeff. Jeff and Sid. Jeff.
Inspector.
Sorry.
Dressed in black. He blends in.
No problem. I didn't even notice. I've been enjoying hearing everybody else's stories.
The wonderful Jeff Leinbach. Tell me.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yes, I would.
I would.
I'm the host here, and I say you're wonderful. So we're going with that.
Okay.
Talk to me about what brought you to CCT and Frankenstein.
Well, I first came to CCT during Wizard of Oz, and that's where I met this person, and we've been together ever since.
Our CCT love story.
I didn't know
It was a showmance.
A
And I got to know David through that. We were Winkies.
Yes.
Jokes about that. But then it came to do some more plays, got involved with Arsenic and Old Lace, and that's where I got to meet Matt, and then acted with Matt in that, and later he was director for Don't Drink the Water, and I came to really rely on trust Matt's judgment on things because I just enjoyed working with him. And I got to meet everybody along the way. So when we were doing Frankenstein, I knew that it was skewing for a little bit younger of a cast. So I knew I wasn't going to be I wasn't going to be Victor or Henry, and I just didn't have the stature to be the creature. Height-wise, I'm one of the shorter members of the cast.
But things come in small packages, Jeff.
So I liked it because I had done, some musicals, done some comedy, and this was a chance to do something in a little bit more serious vein. And I love the story of Frankenstein in all of its incarnations. It worked out well to do this. Unfortunately, during the rehearsal process, my work decided that we needed to work like 70 hours a week. So my biggest memory of the rehearsal process is, okay, I'm going to go back and go to sleep now. I'm not in for like 6 or 7 scenes. So, but
I can go take a nap.
It was, I'll tell you what, it was really great. I got to have a true appreciation for everybody's acting ability in this. I had seen Brent in The Uninvited, and that was a little bit more of a stoic character, and just really got to see Brent act the heck out of this thing as the creature. And David brought an intensity that I think raised everybody's level. And then when Katie joined the cast, she just jumped right in, and it was a really one of the first experiences where like you really felt the whole group just start to gel and trust each other. And I learned to really love the theater family through this show.
That's so fantastic. And I think, and you know, all of you have done enough shows in your life. I think you all can agree with me when I say that that is not necessarily the norm. I think a lot of times people see theater and you see kind of these like casts and everybody thinks, oh, it's a family and everybody's friends and it's this like wonderful experience and every single, you know, and it's more rare than I think a lot of people think of an honest to goodness cast that gels and you just feel like every person brings something totally different but totally worthwhile to the table and everybody makes everybody else better through the process. So, you know, hearing you guys talk, I think that's something that's really, that might have been really, you know, kind of the it factor for you guys for your production is just that, you know, you had that rarity that, like I said, I think a lot of people don't realize how rare it is.
Well, and you know, as a technician and not an actor, I don't always get close to casts because they create their own family and then you're like just sort of on the side doing whatever. But I always felt
Putting out Post-it notes and telling everybody where they messed up.
yeah, so they don't really like you all that much, I guess it is maybe. But I felt really good about being a part of this, and I felt like I was part of that family, and that was a nice change for me as well.
Well, as you see, this was our wonderful stage manager, Miss Jessica Dubell. Jessica, talk a little bit about, yes, you girl.
Oh, I hate the attention. No. So
keep going. I know.
My grandparents helped start the community theater, the Chambersburg Community Theatre back in the day. And then
in her blood, ladies and gentlemen, in her blood.
My parents met, well, they knew each other in high school, but then they met again doing a show and got married. And so I grew up doing theater my entire life, which is why I asked if Deb was in South Pacific, because it was one that I was actually in, because I'm not usually in them. But it was a lot of fun. So I grew up in it, and then I went away for a few years, for very few years. And then, so a friend of mine was like, I'm auditioning for Guys and Dolls. Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be great. And I said, hey, do you guys need a stage manager? Because I have some experience. I wouldn't mind, you know, like.
And I was so desperate and needed one so badly and was so scared because that was my first job directing with CCT. And I had come from, you know, other theaters where they like handed you a stage manager and was like, here, this person has gift wrapped your world for you. And I was so like, when I walked into CCT, I was like, so who's my stage manager? Like, you got to find one. I'm like, I don't know anybody. And then I got the best in the entire world.
So it was really funny. We met at
Agreed.
We met at the
at Big Oak.
And we had a conversation. She was like, okay, thank you. I'm gonna wait for you to be my stage manager. So I mean, it didn't really actually go like that, but that's how I imagine it in my head. When
it did. No, she's not lying. It really did. It really did. I had just had a baby not long before. So I think the hormones were probably like, you know, we're probably still raging a little bit, but
yeah, we're in that same baby because Jonah wasn't even 6 months old, I think.
Right. And Kenzie was less than a year when we started.
So I ended up doing that show. And while doing that show, I met this really big galoot guy playing Big Julie. And I would give him crap all the time because he couldn't remember his line. He had like one line and he couldn't remember it. So I would tease him all the time. And he was like, hey, I have a proposition for you.
I had like 15 lines, and 14 of them I remembered all the time. It was one that I kept having trouble.
Yeah, but it was the one that you meant.
The one that mattered. It was the one that mattered.
Yeah. It was probably the keystone of the entire show.
It was, absolutely.
So anyway, Matt and I became friends during that show, and he said, if I direct, will you stage manage for me? And I was like, I don't even like you, so no. But I did it anyway. And you know, I'm really, really glad that I ended up, you know, stage managing for you, Kelly, and then doing every show that Matt has done so far, except for Spamla, sorry, that he's directed, I've been a part of, so I love
we kept postponing it to hopefully clear up your schedule. So.
Yeah, no kidding. And also on a SID note, during Guys and Dolls, I Facebooked to the world and I was like, we need tech help. Can we get some tech help? And Sid was like, oh, I might know some stuff about tech. I could probably help. So she comes in, she joins the show, and she's like this tech guru.
Boy, does she know.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Sid Tokar.
Yes.
CCT's production director.
Yeah.
Actually, if I could then are you done, Jessica?
I don't know. I haven't talked about Frankenstein. Now I'm done. I can be done. I can talk for hours. You know that. Keep going.
No, I just, before we get to Sid, Sid was instrumental in this production particularly. I always kind of said that it was almost more her show than it was my show. She took what little direction I probably gave her and really developed the look and feel. She actually did the lighting for that particular show. It was something that CCT really hadn't seen from a lighting design before or since, to be honest. The set design was just awesome. I mean, I just said, hey, I want a door here, I want a door here, I want a door there. She came up with the whole idea of the open set with the curtains. The makeup that she did with Brent was just absolutely fantastic.
I felt reborn every day.
Not that what you did, Brent, on your face right there isn't. that is great as well. Just
the only thing we could never get to work was to get my pool of blood coming up on the Henry death scene. So, but if I had to give up one thing, that was the one I was willing to let go. So
that and a gunshot.
Yeah. Speaking of the trust we had to have as a group, I mean, we had to have that trust. I had my hands around 2 or 3 different people's necks.
Right. But
you were smashing skulls.
So Sid, with that, tell us your introduction to CCT.
It's all Jessica's fault. We were like she said, she posted this thing on Facebook, and we were working together at Target at the time, of all places. And she's like, I need somebody to run a rail. And it was like, I know how to do that, because I had just moved to Chambersburg a couple years before and was looking for something, creative outlet for all of my theater experience. I had worked for a children's theater in Tucson, Arizona for 10 years before that. And I was really jonesing for some theater after moving out here. And I was like, I will pull ropes for you. And then she's like, oh, never mind, I found somebody to do that. But do you know anything about costumes? I was like, well, I do have a master's degree in textile design, so sure. So
a little bit.
And then ended up working backstage and doing all kinds of stuff. So.
And you brought Zoe, and she ran our lights.
Yeah. And then I met Jeff.
Aww.
The next show.
Sid, was your first show Wizard of Oz?
Mine? Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first show that I was in with CCT. I was backstage with Bye Bye Birdie.
Oh my God.
Guys and Dolls.
Oh, right, Guys and Dolls, the other thing.
Yeah.
And then met Matt, and we worked together on Golden Pond and Don't Drink the Water. And,
Yeah, and there were strawberries.
And there were strawberries everywhere.
We'll get to the strawberries. This is
all the strawberries all the time.
Okay. The strawberries, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this to you. The strawberries, and we will get to the strawberries are the whole reason for this reunion tonight. So there's your teaser. There's your teaser of what's to come. There's your teaser of what's to come. So thank you guys so much. It's so exciting to hear everybody's story. And I think it's one of the things that makes Chambersburg Community Theatre so special is that it really is a place where people from all walks of life, all different stories, all different backgrounds, have the opportunity to come together and do something that's fun and creative and make new friends and make new connections in a place that they may not, otherwise, have the opportunity to do. Yes, Matt, I like how he raises his hand.
No, I just thought before we get too far into the next topic, I also just wanted to give a shout out to Amy Beth and Katie and Olivia, who couldn't join us this evening. Yes,
Amy Beth Davis, Katie Greenewald, and Olivia Moxley were the 3 actresses that rounded out the cast. Unfortunately, they couldn't join us this evening, but they were the 3 other components to the cast. Matt, do you and Jessica and Sid want to talk a little bit about kind of maybe their auditions that you remember, bringing them into the fold?
Katie and Amy Beth had both been with CCT for a while. They had actually started with stage camp when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of funny seeing them grow up over the years. But Amy Beth hadn't really done anything with us for a few years by the time Frankenstein came around. And I mean, she just, like everybody, I mean, everybody gave a good audition. Katie originally, was cast for a different role, but then a need came up and we needed to change her role to Elizabeth, and she just grabbed it and ran with it with flying colors. And I knew she could. And then because of that change, then Olivia came in kind of at the last minute. Olivia was friends with David, and so he reached out to her, and she had auditioned actually already, and she just missed the cut. She was the one that we were like, she's really good, we just don't have the part for her, and so when the opportunity came, David reached out to her. She's like, oh my God, I'd love to be. And the other thing about her, and this is one thing I'll say to anybody that's watching this that wants to get involved with theater, she had a great attitude when she didn't get the part. She was very thankful for the opportunity. She was saying how she was excited to see the show. She was going to come see it. And just that stuck in my head. So when this need came up later that I needed to fill this part, that was the first name that came to my head. It was like, well, what about that girl? And then David happened to say, oh, well, I know her. She's friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I said, call her, please. And
yes.
she was like, I think she had to work or something. She said, I'll clear my work schedule. I'll get free. I'll be available. I'll be there, And it was fantastic. And I think that leads to what Jeff was saying earlier, kind of helped the whole cast come together. Was that solidifying moment where we all just kind of lifted each other up.
Yeah, and she was welcomed right in. Everybody was so great about all the changes that happened, and you knew you had to move on. You had to keep going because you can't stop.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's so exciting. So while we're on the topic of Frankenstein, I pulled up some photos from the show, and I want to give you guys an opportunity to take a look at some photos. I'm going to share my screen and give you guys the chance to take a look at some of these photos. I want to talk a little bit about each of them, get you guys' reactions to them. So here's our first one. Look at the fabulous makeup of our creature.
Grumpy. He's so happy. That's the face I'm making under my mask at work every day.
If I remember correctly, I think this was when I just had a telescope or the microscope really close to his eye, so he was probably sneering at me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it has to be during that scene because it was when I was sitting down for 15 whole minutes.
Yeah, the tests.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was complete fangirling.
Talk a little bit about, and I don't know, maybe this is a conversation for Matt and for Sid and Jessica, or maybe it's more of a collaborative thing. I remember when I saw this production, and I had just started in my role as a managing director with CCT, so I was still kind of finding my way and getting back in with the organization. But when I came to see it, one of the things that really struck me about it is, I think when people hear Frankenstein, they think about the old school, green squared off heads with the bolts in the neck, or you think of the movie that was out years ago, and I'm gonna get it was wrong, but it was the bald, totally mangled, couldn't notice anything.
Is that De Niro?
De Niro, yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say De Niro, and I'm gonna say it, and then I'm gonna sound like an idiot. This just had a totally different look about it. Can you guys talk a little bit about how this ended up with such a different look to kind of the stereotypical Frankenstein?
It was all me.
Well,
true. It's all true.
Oh yeah,
I think
a lot
of
of your visits as the model.
I think, to your point, Kelly, I think there is that stereotype that's out there as far as the creature goes, and I should have mentioned this when we were talking about how we selected the show. One of the things that intrigued me the most about the creature in the show is how articulate he was. So many people think he's just, right. He's a conscious being that just seeking acceptance and humanity.
And I kept waiting for him to sing "Putting on the Ritz," but he never. So,
Wrong show.
Yeah.
Wrong show.
But so I think, starting with that basis that, this is going to, this isn't what people are going to be expecting from the creature. I think it just kind of built backwards from there as we went. So Sid, if you want to add more to that.
Yeah, that's pretty much the vision that we were going off of, was that, that he wasn't just this sort of ugly, monstrous looking. We wanted to maintain his humanity.
Yes.
With the parts of him that had been put together to create this creature. So without having it be, super gory, still have it be, different parts of a person making one whole human.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that was one thing that struck me seeing it as an audience member, was it was just a totally different take on, I think a lot of times we think, like I said, we think about the stereotypical, either like the old Universal monster, or the De Niro version, and they're almost caricatures of a creature. But there was so much more humanity in this. And I think a lot of that, like Matt said, went to the script, but I think a lot of it went to Brent too. And performance of making it more human, for lack of a better word.
And when you go ahead, Brent.
Sorry. Just like reading the script in the first place, because like I said, I wasn't super familiar with Frankenstein beforehand. I'm still only 81% through the book, according to my phone, which I just checked. But no, I was vaguely familiar with the character. But then just reading the script, it's impossible to not feel for him. So, like, even from the fact that I was trying to get into the character, it's just he's had a rough life, man. What it doesn't get into in the script, what it gets into in the book, he spent decades in the Arctic. He's been through a lot. But no, actually, there was the depiction of Frankenstein's creature that I most ended up relating to afterwards was, God, I think shortly after I was in this show, I watched Penny Dreadful, which has it has a bunch of different like Universal monsters and everything. But the creature in that, he's so sad and brooding, and his face, like his lip is always trembling just to the point where you think he's going to look off and sing Lonely Room.
I think another aspect too, the time frame that it takes place and the way that the Victor character and the Henry character fit in that time frame, as well as Frau and the others, but especially those two, since they kind of framed the creature. And I wish I could say this was great direction on my part, but it wasn't. It was really these characters or these actors taking these characters and making them. They played them in such a for lack of a better word, Elizabethan way. Very straight and prim and proper, and the humanity that you mentioned, Kelly, with Brent, is such a stark contrast to that. Because everything else was all prim and proper, and he actually was more like we are.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that kind of helped pull the audience into that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, y'all ready? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, for as good as the makeup was, it really was just a starting point for the character. Brent on his own, without the makeup, has a very, very striking character face that made a wonderful canvas, I think, for the makeup. There's an intensity in his eyes, but there's also a depth of emotion. And I know I'm sounding like the president of the Brent fan club here, but I could not see that makeup working nearly as well on anybody else other than Brent.
No, absolutely. And that's a testament to Sid and her design, as well as to Brent and his ability to make the design feel natural and feel real and not like, makeup that was just painted on like a mask.
And I'll say that the makeup every night, though it was similar every night, it was still unique every night because Sid put that makeup on every single night. So it wasn't always the same pattern or the same exact, design. which I think just helped keep it alive, no pun intended.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely intended. Come on.
That's so cool. All right, we're ready for another photo.
Yeah.
Is it
Aw.
me and Sid dancing? Because I have a video of Sid and I dancing as we were putting up the set.
It's not. I only have cast photos. I only have show photos. So
Here, here.
That's okay.
It's all right.
Mom,
Oh,
look at that
bro.
lovely face.
Mm.
her snood.
Yes.
Gone too soon.
Yes.
Look at that lovely face.
She's right here, Brent. Don't say that. Deb can hear you.
Her snood was heavy.
Oh.
I've got to say, Deb, easily my best stage mom that I've ever had.
Aww.
You were one of the easiest persons I've ever had played scenes with too. Most of the time, I feel like I can't look directly at the person I'm doing a scene with. But with you, I was so comfortable, maybe because you reminded me so much of my son that, you know, it was so easy to talk to you and relate to you when we were doing scenes.
Aww.
On stage and off stage, it was always a joy talking to you.
Fabulous.
I think that was it. You just, you know, I just kept thinking he's so much like my son. He's younger than my son, but just
All right, ready for another one?
really nice guy.
Oh,
All right, ready for another one?
hit us with it.
This one.
There he
Ooh.
is.
Ah.
Oh man,
What a
Look at that
sweet-
brood.
the very studious Henry.
And the
Yes.
perfect hair that lasts the entire show somehow.
I still
Yes.
have no idea how I got my hair to look that great. every
Meanwhile,
time.
my hair it gave up like second scene of the first act, and it's down here like this, just disheveled for the rest of the show.
That was
So-
so bad
Looking at
scientist
me.
in you.
So I'll tell you, in that book, David would grab pre-show and then doodle in it, and I would try and find the new doodles that he had while still keeping that studious look and not break character as he's like
Really?
writing me notes and drawing me things. Oh man.
Nice.
Oh,
On that
great.
note,
Yeah.
anybody else have behind the scenes, like things like that, the fun, you know, I did this to somebody stories? Oh, David's hand up went way too quickly.
David did many of them.
So
Well,
David was the trickster. David, you're the trickster.
Yes, he is.
No. What makes you think that? No, it was always fun. I mean, just trying to make Brighton break on stage. I hate to admit that, and I know that's not the goal, but it's an underlying goal. It's always fun.
I hope one of the pictures you have is like David with the goggles and the gloves, because
Yeah.
that was the pure mad scientist moment.
Bust through the door.
Oh, I loved it. It was so fun.
No, I'll have to look back. That's not one I pulled, but I'll see if I can find it. Maybe we'll save that one for our Halloween series.
I'll say about that.
Facebook, everybody.
That
Keep
was-
watching Facebook.
I'll say about that is that was that particular way that scene started. That was all David. David, that he wanted that moment. You know, I want to come out. I want to come burst into the door like that and have that Dr. Horrible look, on my face. and I really didn't see it. Like, I'm gonna let you have this. but it ended up working because, again, it came from a real place. So it ended up not being over the top. Sometimes I think in rehearsal it got a little over the top, but by the time we actually got to the stage time, it blended in perfectly. You found just the right level to hit it at that point, and it worked so well.
That was what I always loved about working this show with David, because like every other show, whenever the intensity starts to drop, the director will be like, always bring it up. We'll tell you when to bring back a little bit. And David was just always super high intensity. He brought every 100%, 110%, plus ultra, every time for every scene.
That reminds me of the beginning of Act 2, which
Yes.
I want to put a shout out that was original orchestration that we had in our show.
Yeah.
So
Kyle.
David, Brent, and I would jam to that intro, that instrumental at the beginning of Act 2. And David was
Is
like
Act
so
2?
hype. And then he would just burst through that door. And it was like, we saw it all behind the scenes before that.
Goodness. We're jumping up and down like Batman back there. The set's almost shaking, rocking out to this interlude.
Tears clanking and music going.
Nice.
And just that whole time, like, I had to sit down in this chair, and just the one chair, because thanks to our open set, we had the curtains on both sides of this door. So the door that we all had to burst out of had curtains on either side, so you couldn't move back and forth during it. So like the entire beginning, I'd have to just sit there and watch like Brighton doing the whip over on the side, over on the end.
Oh my gosh.
See, this is the fun stuff. This is what people don't get to see. And sometimes this is the best part of the show. The shows within the show are so much better half the time than the show itself.
I was looking for photos, and I don't, because I can't show
You
it.
got to turn off your
I'm
virtual
gonna turn
background.
off my video, but everybody will, oops. Yeah, I'm much better at this than you might think I am. So I
Oh,
had,
I still have that card too, by the way.
Hey.
like, backstage.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Oh, that was the best. I always take a backstage photo. And I was trying to find one of Sid and I because we always had the best time backstage.
Nice. So I want to share a couple more. I want to share a couple more photos, just to to kind of keep things going. So this one, let's share the screen.
Oh wait, Jess has got another one.
So for this one, this is Olivia. This is Olivia Moxley, who couldn't join us this evening. And I saw this photo when I was going back through them, and I loved her face in this. Like the look that she gives David, I just think is so fabulous.
That was when she was being arrested.
Yes.
Let's not forget Jeff's face there too. I mean, that's.
Yes, we'll get to Jeff in a minute. There is a better Jeff photo, but I just
Oh, I know the one.
look in her eye was just so wonderful. I had to share.
Well, and in this scene too, the way David again brought that emotion to that, like he had to send her away, and it just.
He had to frame her for what he did.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just, I don't know. It was just that was just a very powerful emotional scene.
And you can see it in his face as well. Like just how.
Even though it looks like a very subtle, very tender moment, there's so much intensity in it.
Yep.
And Olivia.
And
Sorry,
so
Kelly.
on the same vein, for our other cast member who couldn't be here this evening, I wanted to share this photo.
Oh, Katie.
So this is Katie. And I just, again, another one of those just absolutely beautiful, just beautiful photos of two beautiful people. Just the care and the tenderness, I just thought was such a nice shot.
She did such a great job taking that part and running with it with the short time that she had with it. I think she did a beautiful job.
And
I love
both
working with
Katie and Olivia. Both Katie and Olivia did such phenomenal jobs in such a short amount of time.
And like Jen said, as soon as they stepped in, everything just like, it was like gears just clicked into place and everything smooth from that moment.
It all just flowed perfectly ever since that switch, and it stuck. Like that was what really pushed us to the next level, was having them rise up like they did. It was just great. I will always remember how that changed this show.
And it changed the dynamic between your two characters.
Oh yeah.
It just like whole next level stuff happening right there on stage. It was so amazing, and what an honor to be able to watch that happening.
Absolutely.
What an honor to be a part of it.
Yeah. So, okay, so we teased it up earlier. I've got one more photo, one more photo to share. We teased it up earlier, and as kind of the last story of the evening, I want to show a photo and then I want an explanation. Now, this, like I said, this is the only photo that I could find that had the famous strawberries.
Oh dear.
But the good news is that it also is a lovely photo of Miss Amy Beth Davis, who again could this evening. But you can see on the table, you have a bowl of strawberries along with a skeleton and random other things.
Knock it off right now.
I can't.
So,
Strawberries.
so there are the strawberries. If you can see, they're right there on the desk. All right.
He's laughing at them.
I think there's two different stories with these strawberries.
There is.
Yeah, well,
All
because
right. So
right
we got to get the strawberry story. Give us the strawberry scoop.
Well, the original strawberry scoop, if you will. My first main stage production that I directed was on Golden Pond. And in that, Ethel, who was played by Joan Crooks, she would go out and pick strawberries. So we had these cans of strawberries, or
Little pails.
pails of strawberries, that Sid made, so when she came back,
glued.
and we just kind of liked the way that they looked. So really, in everything that I've done except for one show, and I can't remember which one we didn't do it, I guess it would have to be Don't Drink the Water, the strawberries have been a part of everything that I've done since then. Now they've changed throughout the years, and we've had to, and they also made an appearance when Big Bad Voodoo Daddy performed at the Capitol. They put the pail of strawberries on their piano. So those strawberries kind of have their own little life of their own there. But then in the script, there's this superfluous line about strawberries that to this day, I don't think any of us really understood or get, and it just was like, in there, and it would just, and David or Brighton, whoever wants to go with it.
Well, he was struck by the incongruity of the mother's dish of strawberries.
Yeah.
And dark mood. I am just struck by the incongruity of my dark moods in my mother's dish of strawberries.
How do you remember that line? Why do you remember that line?
It's iconic. And then he bursts in hilarious laughter of strawberries, and we're all like, Victor Frankenstein is insane.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I can sum it up to, is that entire script. I sunk my teeth into it. I dug into the meaning of every single line. And I got to that line. And in the entire dang script, that is the one line that I could not figure out what the heck it meant. So I just chalked it up to sheer insanity. And every single time I said it,
It worked.
Strawberries.
Sounds like it must have been pretty incongruous.
yes, quite. That line is what drove me insane. It was there all along.
Yeah, for me personally, even if I'm not even with any of you, if for some reason strawberries come up, I just start saying strawberries, and just start laughing. It's like, and people look at me like I'm insane now, and I'm like, never mind. It's just.
But you are.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Strawberries became Niagara Falls, but it's just like, Deb comes in and with Amy Beth, and they're in these beautiful Victorian gowns, and there's such nice gesture of these strawberries, that she's the loving mother, and David just rips her apart for it.
Yeah, Victor Frankenstein's over there being a pouty little 12-year-old boy.
Franken jerk.
Yeah. I don't want you as strawberries. I'm angry and brooding.
And there was only one real strawberry anyway.
And then one time it was moldy. The real strawberry that I had to take a bite of was moldy. I'm like, you piece of stick?
Oh no!
Jess is the one that placed it there.
Who does that? Oh.
Yes.
The sacrifices we make for our art, right, David?
Yep.
Sorry,
Yep.
David.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to come and sit down with us and give us a walk back down memory lane of one of CCT's great, spooky, fabulous productions. Thank you to each of you for the contributions that you made to not only this production, but that each of you make to CCT on a daily basis. Every single one of you has a role in the organization and brings something special, and we love you for it. So thank you guys so much. I hope that all of you enjoyed this evening's reunion and little, look back at this wonderful production. Keep a watch on our Facebook page. Next up, we have our virtual children's theater production of Bram Stoker's Dracula for Kids that will be hitting on Friday, October 30th. The best way you can get to see that is to make a donation to CCT. So go to www.cctonline.org/donate. And that will get you access to view a wonderful children's production, a family-friendly, funny production of the classic spooky Dracula story. And keep a watch on our Facebook for future reunions. But thank you again to the wonderful cast and crew of Frankenstein. We hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed hearing all of your funny stories and seeing your fabulous faces.
Thank you, Kelly, and all you guys.
Yeah.
I miss you guys. It was such a pleasure working with you, and it's good to see you guys again. It's good to see where you guys have been going. David, what you're doing. Katie's doing such a great stuff with college and everything. It's seeing you guys grow up. It's just fantastic. I'm still friends with a lot of you and working with you guys in other productions. It's been great. So please keep taking care of yourselves, and thanks so much.
All right. Again, we hope you guys enjoyed tonight's production. If you did, please consider making a donation to CCT, www.cctonline.org/donate. Happy Halloween.
Love you guys.
Bye.